This thing's dirtier than downtown San Francisco, so the pressure washing is probably an appropriate measure. If you're going to be welding on a vehicle, there's a couple things to remember. Turn your key to accessory on or power on, and make sure your battery's connected, because if you're surging electricity through this body that's strong enough to melt the metal, it'll also have a dual effect of charging your battery without having to run your motor. Stay tuned for more tech tips. Welcome back to the world headquarters of Crossthread Garage and Salvage. I'm Steve, this is Caitlin, my daughter. I'm teaching her how to work on old trucks, including this C-10 bed that we have behind us, which came off of the C-10 that's in the garage. And this week we pulled the bed off. I'm teaching Caitlin to weld. We're doing some patch panel repairs on the rust in the cab corners and rockers, and getting the bed and frame cleaned up and frame painted. So pressure washing, sanding, grinding, wire wheeling, painting, cutting, welding, it's all in today's episode. Got it?
I wasn't super paying attention right now, but I'll give 110% as soon as you repeat yourself in a more interesting way.
I will not be doing that. You guys all heard it though, right? So what we're going to do is going to start Caitlin unplugging all these little holes that are all over this bedside. Basically teach her to plug weld, spot weld, get a little bit of control. And she's going to go through and do all the trim. There's holes. 32 holes. You already counted them? Yeah. We got to go ahead and pull these tow mirrors off because we're not putting these back on. We're going to pull them out. You're going to plug these two holes. Actually going to plug all three of those holes. Badge holes on the front, those are going to get plugged basically all the way around, doing the same thing. So well, Caitlin, there comes a time in every young lady's life when she has to learn to weld.
I've welded before.
You haven't welded before?
Yeah.
When?
When you were building your wrap.
I don't think so. I might have let you pull the trigger once or twice, but I don't think you welded. So what we've got here is a Lincoln MIG welder. It's using CO2 gas. It's running off 220. I traded for this welder 4 years ago. Had the unfortunate experience of owning a Ford F550 with a 6-liter diesel in it. Couldn't sell the truck, so I pulled the service bed off of it, and I traded the service bed for this welder. If I don't know what I'm dealing with, there is, if you know what, I should say if you know what you're dealing with, there's a door you can open over there with a chart. Here, move this up out of the way. You can look at the chart and figure out what you're supposed to be putting your settings at for spot welding or stitching, whatever gauge metal you're using. But I don't normally know the metal that I'm dealing with, so I just like to go all the way up. Max voltage.
You cannot be serious!
Whenever you're welding on a truck or a car, Caitlin, you want to make sure your battery's disconnected, which is no problem because I already robbed the battery out of this a week ago for something else. The reason you want to disconnect the battery is so you don't fry any of the electronics. We've got our welder turned all the way up as high as it'll go on every single setting. I need to tighten it up. So I want you to look at what I'm doing here, Caitlin. I'm going to start with this hole right here, and I'm just going to roll that around until it fills that hole, okay? Ready? So we got part of that hole filled. Now we're just going to fill it all the way to the top.
So...
Well, the good news here is, Caitlin, if I can't make you a welder, I can at least make you a grinder.
Can I go now?
See where the holes are? Mm-hmm. One on either side of that one?
Yeah.
Let's grind that out and see what it looks like. It's got a roll here and a roll here, so warping it is not as big a deal. When we get to the bed sides, we're gonna have to make sure we don't get that much grinding on it because it will warp it. But we're doing okay here, Caitlin. You got a couple little pinholes that need filled, but otherwise I think we're doing pretty good. Yeah, you got it now. Okay, you see the holes?
Mm-hmm.
Run it until it sounds like bacon popping in a pan, like that, like that. You hear that?
Yeah.
That's the sound you want to hear. You want to run it long enough to hear that pop for 2 seconds. Okay, hold on. Hey, look, when you just let it pop like that, that doesn't weld anything. It doesn't do anything. It has to run for, put your mask on. That got down deep enough to actually weld metal together, okay? So quit just popping on it and putting a little popcorn weld in there. That won't fill anything, okay? Remember, if you don't get a good weld, we still have a grinder. So just hold it down long enough to flow that metal together. Good.
It's still hot over there.
Yeah, it's going to be hot. Now, we can live with that. See that? You can actually see where you plug welded that.
Yay.
And we're not going to go ahead and don't start welding with my mask on.
I'm not, my mask is off too.
We're not. All right, we're recharging batteries on the grinder because we're apparently better at grinding than welding right now. And
No, we just forgot to plug all the batteries in.
okay, so we're going to go ahead and grab the tow mirrors off of the truck here because, well, we're building a hot rod, not a tow truck.
Yeah, and I'm not a 19-year-old in an oil field driving a Dodge.
They got pretty aggressive with the self-tappers on the mirror. Actually coming out.
Nope.
I'll pull here, you run it.
Or permanently attached.
Are we gonna have to take off the
Or?
interior door panel?
No, we just put those on.
I know. Give me this.
We could just
I thought those look like
cut
self-tappers.
it off. And then with my expertise in welding, we could fix it.
Well, if we cut it off, we're gonna have little things bounce down inside the door. All right, it's gotta get done, Caitlin. Well, we got the holes filled. And did it on both sides here, so this side we haven't started cleaning up yet. Pretty messy. Not the best welds I've ever seen. But Caitlin's doing a pretty good job here, just learning with the tacks. So we're gonna get all these cleaned up. All those cleaned up. Okay, we've got the mirrors off the truck. Caitlin's gonna go ahead and fill in these holes here. So while Caitlin is welding, we have her Uncle Nick here, a GM world-class, master certified, all the certificates, all the programs.
Enough batches to make a quilt.
So he's here with us this week, and obviously since we've got such a good mechanic on hand, we decided we'd ask him to help us remove the bed, because that's the next thing that he's done. Don't pay attention to any of this. That's gonna clean up later. If you haven't seen it already, look at the suspension episode. You can see the frame will clean up nice, but that bolt and that bolt are not gonna come out of here with a wrench. Same thing over here, all four of them. So made the executive decision that despite the fact that we have excellent wrench turning help here, we're gonna go ahead and melt these off with a torch. Ouch. Oh, it's burning. Oh, man. Ow. Woo. It's in my shirt. Oh. Ah, it's not funny anymore. Oh, man. Ow. Okay. Yep, I'm right down my shirt sleeve and into my armpit.
That horse piece?
No.
Not the big one, no.
Big chunk of molten slag. Caitlin, what do you got there?
Snake.
A baby snake?
There's 5 of them.
The other one. These guys were inside of sawbucks here.
There.
Yep. Alright. Tail lights are out. And wires are disconnected. Bed's gonna go right here for now. And we'll get to clean the frame up and probably do some of the body work on the bed right there where it's sitting up a little bit higher. Kaylin, you good?
Look at that snake.
Yeah. Let's not look at the snake and get the bed off of the truck. So we're over here, you know, lifting with our necks to get this bed off, and remembered that there is a fuel filler neck that needs to come off of there, so. Holy smokes. Well, that's not right, but what isn't on this truck? Okay. So we got all the bolts out of the bed now, and Kaylin's getting the fuel filler neck over there. And I didn't video the last 2 bolts that were over by the fuel tank because if the garage burned down, I didn't need videographic evidence for the insurance company to tell me what I shouldn't have done. So we didn't get that.
And then I thought somebody was barbecuing. And then the smoke got me. I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
But we're getting this. So bed's coming off now. Here we go. All right, our favorite neighbor's back in town with his tractor here. We're gonna try this the way it should be done. Here, Caitlin. Got about. Drive right through my mud. You're too good of a neighbor. Did you see what I did to my lawn down here? I sprayed the weeds in the middle of the driveway.
Yeah.
And about an hour later I mowed the lawn and I drove over top of it going through there, so I've got dead streaks going that way and coming this way.
I see. Okay.
I don't know where she thinks she's going.
Maybe that's it. Maybe.
She's done. That was the last bad decision.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we didn't tear up the light socket or the pocket here, so that's
That's right. That's
good.
My
Oh, it's stuck, Glenn. I guess that chain's mine now. Put it in gear. we've got the bed pulled off the thing, but if we'd been thinking about it, we would have moved it further away from the garage so we could actually get the truck out of the garage to get it pressure washed and cleaned up. That's on par for the course for Crossthread Garage and Salvage World headquarters here. It's probably good-ish.
Make money, honey.
Did my wife just tell me to make money, honey? 2 ways to do that. Keep watching this episode so we get paid on the Google ads. Number 2, go to our merch store, crossthreadgarageandsalvage.com. Buy yourself a Crossthread Garage hat, t-shirt, sweatshirt, stickers, all the good stuff there, right, Caitlin? Alright, now I've been telling you guys that this is going to clean up, and I know some of you haven't been believing me, but the reason I've been saying that is because this stuff that looks like crusty rust is actually an undercoating that was put on the frame that's coming off. It's not all metal. That's actually rust that got underneath the undercoating. But that's mostly undercoating that's coming off there. And underneath it is still good solid metal. Good steel, so we're gonna clean it up with a wire brush, paint it, and this will all look like it's brand new back here. Alright, so this is what we've got going on here. The lower inner is rotted out. This is the back end of the rocker. And you can see this was the hole I knew I had to patch, but this was all rotted out here too once we got into it. Well, we've made a mess of it now, haven't we, Caitlin?
Great.
We're going to go ahead and get this inner rocker cleaned up. I have a new inner rocker patch that's going to go in here, and then we're going to start cutting this guy based off of a pattern here. Yeah, you got a hold line up there. That'll be perfect. I don't know how easy it is to tell. This will pick up on camera, but if you can see the metal and then the Bondo on the outside of it. So when we pulled this apart, this section of the cab corner, basically right here where it comes together, had been filled with Bondo.
Whoa.
So we're getting rid of that.
A lot of Bondo.
Somebody tried patching it up horribly once before. We're gonna make it right, put it back together right, so we can sell it with a good conscience. And that's the way we do things, right, Caitlin? We've got to get this cab corner and this rocker on because that's going to set our height for everything else. So once we have the cab corner in here lined up properly here, that'll give us the proper depth, and we'll know where to put our inner cab and mark it, trim it, put it back. and then hang our outer on there. We've had a crazy busy couple of weeks, and we're basically at the end of our time here available to us this week because we've got 2 more super busy weeks ahead of us where we're not going to be able to spend much time in the garage. So for today, we're going to get everything tacked back in, and then when we come back in our next episode, we'll finish welding those out and begin sanding the cab and the bed, prepping everything for paint, and putting this thing back together with a nice clean painted finish. So that's the plan. Hey, we're not graffitiing the truck. All right, while Caitlin is rebuilding the frame and rear axle here, I'm going to finish welding in that cab corner. All right, now Caitlin is going to go ahead. I've got this tacked in. She's going to go ahead and just spot weld this. Don't go yet. I'm going to explain what we're doing here. We're spot welding. We're not seaming this all together. If you did that, the whole thing would warp like crazy. So we're going to do a spot here, a spot here, a spot here, come back here, go around the corner, come back here. She's just going to dance all over the place, filling in that line that's been cut there and cleaned up. And once that's all done, we'll go ahead and grind it all down smooth, and before we're done, then this will get a nice coat of Bondo. I mean body filler. Body filler. You know, the professional stuff. So this is another example, Caitlin, of, oh, what are you eating?
Frozen strawberries.
Okay. This is another example of it's got to get done. We're not going to pay somebody to do this. So have I ever replaced cab corners in a C-10 before? No. No, I haven't. Have I done some patch welding on some older trucks? Yeah. Is it basically the same thing? No. Similar, not the same thing. But stuff like this is where I get to a place once more with Caitlin when we're doing this, where I'm just reminding her, if it's going to get done, somebody's going to have to do it. And that somebody is us. There's nobody else to call to do this. This is it. So we are hacking and grinding our way through this repair. This is not a tutorial. None of this is for educational purposes, okay? Don't.
Then why are you teaching me?
What?
Then why are you teaching me?
It's educational for you, not for them. Just for you. Okay, now we've got the driver's side opened up over here. We're going to cut out this little bit of rust from the back of this inner rocker. I've already got the piece that had a little bit of rust in it. This was basically the only rust on the outer rocker. This was revealed after we kind of ground through some stuff. But I've got this piece out. I've got another piece already cut and ready to go in here. But I need to get this part of the outer rocker off, and this is like panel bonded on there. So I also have a piece of the inner cab corner already cut and ready to go, and I've got it marked. Here. So what I'm going to do is actually cut this off right here all the way across. I'm going to cut this at the line all the way across there, and then I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to slice this part of this outer rocker off of there so that we can put in that patch and start building this back. So here we go. Getting there on this, and you can see, stand it. You can see we've got the inner tacked in, but these pieces notoriously don't fit well, so we've had to do a little bit of sizing here, just manipulating the metal, moving everything around. Probably not going to get this back inner patched in yet. We didn't have to remove the whole thing, we didn't have to go up into the cab, but we've got some inner rocker that we can patch back in here, and we'll cover this. We're having to clearance a lot, so this is the cab corner, and it's marked in Sharpie, but you can't see it, but this whole corner I'm going to have to grind out so that it can fit right here. So it's got to wrap around the door and go all the way up here, and we'll patch that back in. So this is called eyeballing it. If you use a black marker on top of black primer, it makes it super easy to see. Not. Kaylin, get a can of primer, or that black primer shook up, so we can prime all this before we close it in, okay? This is called hoping that your eyeball isn't playing tricks on you. Nice. Okay, gotta clearance that a little bit, but we're pretty much there. We're just over here slinging slag and filling gaps. Well, we're getting ready to finish welding this back piece in here. I've got just tack welded in the corner, 3 or 4 little tack welds around the edge here, and I've got this corner piece just tack welded in, not cleaned up yet. So before we lose all of our light here, Caitlin's gonna go ahead and get the rest of this tacked in. Caitlin, this reminds me of Ecclesiastes 9:10. It says, whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. This week has been a real difficult week in getting all this done. We just did not have the time we needed. We had obligations with my work and family, and we have struggled from the start to make this all happen. But it's got to get done. Someone's going to have to do it. And this week, once more, it had to be us. Don't worry about welding next to that gas tank there, Caitlin. We shut the gas off.